stage of the ongoing series on the purity. Lord, have your way and do in us and with us that which it pleases you. Let every brother, every sister receive grace to walk in purity. In Yeshua's name we pray. Amen. Brothers and sisters, we began a study on purity, the surest way to prepare for end of the age. We did that on Monday, we did that yesterday, and by His grace, we will now go on to lesson 3. And let's recap some of things said yesterday, the pervasive scope of purity, and those who desire purity, that they must first be satisfied. They must come to a place where they are not satisfied with merely abstaining from the external major sins like immorality, like stealing, like murder, like rage. These things that people can see, these things that represent having to do with another person. Somebody who is desiring purity must go beyond that, because religious people can abstain from those things. 2, we must believe in the biblical doctrine of heart perfection that is there in the Bible. The same way salvation by grace is there, there's also perfection of the heart. There's sanctification, the second work of grace, which leads to a deep cleansing, because purity is a state where the inside of one, the very core, is free of agenda, free of anything, no gray area, everything is pure because the blood has done a work. And then it means that we must come to the place of understanding the distinction between righteousness, which is right standing with Elohim on the merit of what Yeshua did, which is a gift given to all once you are saved, and holiness, which is response to that gift. Your response, the choices I make as a result of my right standing with the Father, is the realm of holiness. And holiness is not something you say, oh, holiness denomination. It is the very life of the Father. He is holy, He is loving, He is caring, and we need to be there. Number 3, we must yearn for purity. Everybody must yearn. And how can you yearn? You have to yearn when you realize there's some area of your life where the Lord needs to do a touch. You know, area of your life. You may be okay in 99%, that 1%, you are yearning. Like Paul, you are pressing in. You don't want to miss it. You just want to be like Elohim. Then number 4, pray earnestly for it. Persist in prayer until it happens. You want to be pure to the cure. That's the name of the ministry of one of our sisters on this line, our sister Louis Pocket in Southampton. The ministry name of this is pure to the cure. You want to be pure to the core of your being. So you are praying. You don't care whether everybody around you think they are okay. You are pressing in. You know there's a dimension of God nature that you is missing. You know it. You know it. You know, men and brethren, I know what it means to see people you expect much from behave unseemingly, behave negatively, begin to scheme and plot and all that. I know it can be destabilizing, but supposing that issue you face it like I have faced, you asking the Lord, Lord, give me the grace to let go, never to even let it touch my skin, because I want to be like you, so secure in who we are in you that it doesn't matter what people do, let it be for them. Then number 5, you refuse to give up until you walk in the reality. Number 6, you understand, is a divine process. But this is the one that is absolutely mind-blowing. When the Father was showing me about this process, he said, listen, husband and wife, parents and children, children and parents, friends, people you are in relationship with, whether as work colleagues or maybe your boss in the office, that everyone the Lord allows into our life, anything that comes from them is not meant to destroy us. This morning the Lord was reminding me about this thing. I saw Him pulling me to the place of coming to even a deeper understanding of this, so that He may use to bless humanity, the remnant, that every single person in our life, the Lord allows them as instruments of showing us areas of grace we have not attained to. If anybody irritates you, that irritation is the issue. It's not the person who did it. It's needful to check in. Where is this irritation coming from? Is it godly? No. Is it flesh? Yes. So when we have that attitude, we're not going to be focusing so much on what somebody did or attitude of somebody. We'll be focusing on our response to that. And if you are looking for purity, if you are looking for this level of holiness, you must come to the place where everything works together for good. In other words, what people do is not an issue. What they say is not an issue. What is an issue is my response. When I begin to take responsibility for my spiritual growth this way, the truth is that we'll go very far. Otherwise, we'll find justification to remain carnal, to remain at a low level, what is called the low life. But if you want the deeper life, you want the higher life, you want that to walk on the road less traveled, then you must come to the place where you know that provocation is not the issue. The issue is, what did the provocation achieve in you? So that means we will come to a place where we understand what Yeshua meant by judgment, the danger of sitting in judgment over others, pointing fingers. You say, listen, you say, hypocrite. Why not look at the beam in your own eye and remove it first, then you can see clearly to see the mote. In other words, the Lord is saying, move from judgment to allowing every provocation and allowing everything done by others move to a state where they become instruments of letting us know what we need to do in our life. Whoever is going to grow this way is going to grow to the fullness of the stature of Yeshua. And the remnant the Lord was showing me are those who are yearning for him like this. Because purity is about coming to what is called the Zoe life. The Zoe life is the life of Elohim. That life that is wholesome. That life that is holy. That life that is loving and caring. That life that is so fixed in its goodness. It cannot. There's no shadow of darkness in it. And the Lord says it's possible. Let nobody deceive you. It is possible to deal with every vestige of the old man in us to the degree that what is left is only pure, is only holy, is only loving, is only caring. And brothers and sisters, the Lord said, my remnant are those who are pressing into this. When you see people who are pressing in this way, they are truly my remnant. And so, brothers and sisters, the Lord tells us again that we don't know the full realm of impurity inside our soul, our bodies, except when something provokes them. Things like offense, whether it is malice, anger, wrath. When people do what we do not like, when offense comes, there's an impurity the Lord needs to deal with. When there's jealousy or envy or feeling flat when people are celebrating or rejoicing, then there's something the Lord needs to deal with. We talked about this things yesterday. 3, when there are innuendos flowing out, you see something good in somebody, you just throw an innuendo. That innuendo is evidence that there is something lacking. When you have a suspicious mind, you tend to suspect what's their motive? Because the Bible says unto the pure things are pure, but unto those who are defiled and unbelieving is nothing pure. So if there's a suspicious mindset, it's evidence of need for purity. When there's accusatory tongue, accusation, it flows easily. There's need for purity. When there's impatience with people in their weaknesses, in their deficiencies, that's also evidence of a need of purity. When there's lack of faith and inability to trust Elohim for provisions, for allocations, for other things, and I need to get into self-help and struggle to get it, that is evidence of need for purity. When there is lack of when there's inability to be under authority and one cannot flow under authority, you need to modify everything, you need to question everything, and you just cannot be under authority, it's evidence of need for purity. When there's unforgiving spirit, you know, people do something you don't like and you find it difficult to forgive. You find reasons to latch onto that thing, to remain in it, and not challenge yourself to let go, because the Bible makes it very clear that, you know, it's if you refuse to forgive, then you deny yourself Elohim's mercy. When number 10, when there's a root of bitterness, like Hebrews 12 says, looking diligently, verse 15. Lest any man fall of the grace of Elohim, lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled. If a root of bitterness is inside, it shows there's a need for purity. When there's a tendency towards vengeance, someone has said something, want to send back, someone has done something, want to do back, it's evidence of need for purity. When men and brethren, these things we covered yesterday, we said that between husband and wife, each one is an instrument of provoking you to see what is there you lack. Between parents and children, when they do things wrong, our reaction shows something we need to ask the Lord. Let's not browbeat this. Whether you are in an office, is an unbeliever, is a Pharaoh. The Lord didn't say get angry with Pharaoh, fight Pharaoh. Go and read the Bible. He said even to the one who is rank wicked. Read what Peter said. Read what Paul said about our relationship with unbelieving people. Even say, hey, you have a husband, he's an unbeliever. He don't say because you are now a believer or he must go. If he wants to stay with you, stay. Unbeliever. Smoking. Unbeliever. Drinking. The Bible says if he wants to stay. You know, we have reduced marriage to tatters. Christians are quick in hurling stones that LGBT people, the wickedness of those who have made, divorce a lifestyle, they don't know how wicked it is. A pointing finger at the LGBT doesn't cut it. People leave just because a woman didn't cook well. Go. People leave because he didn't dress the way he wants. Go. Grab another one. After 3 years, you throw away, grab another one. Look at how we have just turned the word of Elohim into non-effect. The Lord didn't say, drop them like Kleenex. No. Take and drop. No. Go and read marriage. Go and read the law of marriage. How many people are attending to it? Men and brethren. So, the Lord wants us to move from being judge of those who fail and fall to be one who intentionally goes backward to help those who fail and fall. Instead of judging them, help them. That's what he meant in Galatians chapter 6, verse 1. Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, you who are spiritual, restore such an one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou be tempted. How many Christians, how many ministers observe this rule? That the onus is on the more spiritual one. The more spiritual one is not the one that thinks he's more spiritual, thinks she's more spiritual. The more spiritual one is not the one that, knows more Bible. The more spiritual one is the one in whom the Spirit of grace has worked a purity so much so that when he sees the fall of brother or sister, there's no rejoicing in that fall. There's no celebrating that fall. There's no trying to kick that person down the drains. Rather, that fall inspires compassion, inspires love, inspires mercy to seek how to. If that how to is going to be by intercession, by prayer, by spiritual warfare, if it's going to be by fasting, one is fasting, not in judgment, just standing in the gap. If it requires a word, it's spoken with such softness, such kindness, that literally speaking, it cannot be condemned. Men and brethren, that's why the Lord wants us to truly understand that what He's asking us this week is to know, is actually to prepare for the end of the age. Because purity puts us in that state when it doesn't matter if Yeshua is coming now, coming 10 years from now, coming 5 years from now. That is now off the table. It puts us in the mode of the wise virgins who have already, who have oil, not just Holy Spirit as in having Holy Spirit as has been interpreted, but in a state where the oil of His holiness is burning in us. The oil of His graciousness is burning in us. And that's what grace does. Grace is poured out for the remnant. Even this series, we didn't plan it, we didn't plot it. It just came that then I knew that this was the will of the Father that we've spoken about. Behold, He comes. Watch, pray, occupy. What are we watching for? First, watch your soul. Watch the motion of your heart. Watch the motion of your mind. Watch attitude, what comes out. when you are unguarded, if you can watch your heart and submit it for transformation, watch your mind and submit it for renewal, watch your attitude, submit it for change, the heart, the mind, the will, it will affect the speech. It will affect the kind of words that come forth, the quality of the words that come forth, the heart, the mind, the attitude, the speech, and then, of course, the actions. Everything will flow. Our emotions will be healed when we have this thing. See, there are a lot of people are carrying damaged emotions from their childhood, things that have dislocated them, and they are born again. Yes, we are born again, your spirit man, but what of the soul that was badly disfigured, badly dysfunctional? The Lord is saying the process of purity is bring that soul, let the Lord begin to walk in it, to bring it apart with your spirit man that is born again, that has the righteousness of Elohim in Yeshua. Bring your soul that faced that rejection, that painful divorce, that man you suffered and labored with, he went on, did his PhD, he supported him all through. The moment he graduated, 3 months later, you are no longer good enough for him, and your heart was split into 1,000 parts. Your soul was totally damaged. Lord said, bring it. Bring it, let me begin to fix it. Bring it, let me begin to sew it together. Bring it, let me begin to take away the pain and the negativity that is therein, that thing that made you fearful, that made you suspicious of all humans who are males. You say, I can't do it. So, brethren, the Lord is saying that the stimuli is not the issue. The issue of provocation is not the issue. It is the response in us that is the depth of purity that is in us. And he's saying his remnant, he's saying everyone press in. Everybody can press in to the fullness of the stature of Yeshua. We need to ask ourselves, what is the price at which my real self comes forth? What is the price at which my real attitude comes forth? Don't wait for people to see. This is person. He said, look to yourself, lest you lose what you wrought. Look to yourself, lest you lose what you wrought. There are all kinds of people. Until the end, look at the way Yeshua dealt with Judas Iscariot. He knew him. He knew the one that betrayed him. Yet he said, whatever you do, do it quickly. You know, the Lord wants to bring us there. But we're not busy looking for our own Judas Iscariots, but we're actually praying for them. He knew Peter would deny him. He prayed for him. Brothers and sisters, as he is, so can we be. So what is the essence of purity? Let me now zoom in on that for us to close with today. 2 major things, essence of purity. Number 1 is for access to a holy Elohim. Matthew 5:8. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see Elohim. They shall see him as in commune with him, as in communicate with him. They shall see him as, so that you don't just pray and your prayer doesn't cross the ceiling. We're supposed to, when we're praying, we're supposed to see Elohim as in have the sense of his presence, the sense of our access to the throne of grace. Blessed are the pure in heart. They are guaranteed they will see Elohim. And those whose hearts are not pure, they can pray and pray and pray, but they don't see him. Then, of course, they see him in the world to come. The rapture of saints, the resurrection of the righteous dead. Remember, purity is a life free of sin, free of the bondage of sin, free of the discipline effect of sin. That's why Hebrews 12:14 says, follow peace with all men and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord. Without holiness. Without holiness. Nobody's talking about this again. We are talking about God will give you 100 houses. God will give you 100 jobs, and you choose 99 of them and leave one. God will give you 20 streams of income. People are talking about these things are all good, but they are not the real issue. Say, follow peace with all men and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord. But in the now and in the world to come. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. We then as workers together with him, beseech you also that you receive not the grace of Elohim in vain. For he said, I have had thee in a time accepted, and in the day of his salvation have I succored thee. Behold, now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation, giving no offense in anything, that the ministry be not blamed. But in all things are proving ourselves as the ministers of Elohim, in much patience, in afflictions, in necessities, in distresses, in stripes, in imprisonments, in tumults, in labors, in watchings, in fastings, by pureness, by knowledge, by long suffering, by kindness, by the Holy Ghost, by love of faith, by the word of truth, by the word of Elohim, by the armor of righteousness on the right hand and on the left. Nobody studied this kind of scriptures again, telling us that there is something higher, something deeper we can attain to. It's not just words, it's not just doctrine or dogma, as in what we can speak. There is something deep the Lord is calling us to. So, holiness, purity rather, enables us to see and relate with Elohim the way He wants. That intimate relationship where we are one with Him. His nature becomes our nature. His perspective becomes our perspective. His plan becomes our plans. His perspective becomes our perspectives. It comes about when our heart is purified and our mind renewed, our attitude sanctified, our actions holy unto Him. The second part of why purity, the essence of purity, is it promotes healthier kingdom relationships. You see, the way the Lord has made us, our relationship flow this way and this way. By purity, we're able to relate with Him. Also, by purity, we're able to relate with Him, with other brethren. True love proceeds out of a pure heart. Otherwise, it can be diverted with agenda that is less than noble. Romans 12:9 says, let love be without dissimulation. Let love be without agenda. Let there be no agenda corrupting love, because it's not enough to love or do an action of love, action of compassion. If there is a corruption, for instance, if I do something to be seen or known, that corrupts the love. It's no longer, it's just like service. The Lord knows our heart. If you serve to be seen, if you serve to get position, serve to find favor with the overseer or pastor of the church, it corrupts the service. The reward is no longer there, because the reward is that person you attracted the attention, maybe got the applause or whatever. That's why I say don't do your deeds before men. 1 John chapter 4 verse 7, beloved, let us love one another, for love is of Elohim, and everyone that loveth is born of Elohim and knoweth Elohim. True love can only proceed for a pure heart. True love, agape, where the love has no agenda, no corruption. Philippians 4:8, finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there is any virtue, if there is any praise, think on these things. In other words, let our mind come to a place where it uses these things to frame every thought that comes in. The thought that comes in, is it true about that brother, about that sister? The truth that comes in, is it honest? That fact or arrow or suggestion, is it just? Even if it were true, is it pure? Is it lovely? Is it of good report? James 3:17. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceful, gentle, and easy to be treated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. How come that people offend, and what will struggle to forgive? He said that wisdom is not of Elohim. It's carnal. It's deadly. 1 Timothy 3:9, holding the mystery of the faith in a pure conscience. There's a mystery of the faith. When he said in a pure conscience, then out of that pure conscience can proceed. Remember, death and life are the power of the tongue, as the word says. Remember also, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. If the mind is pure, if the conscience is pure, one is going to have pure thought towards other people. 1 Timothy 4 verse 12, let no man despise thy youth, but be thou an example of believers in word, in conversation, in charity, in spirit, in faith, in purity. In purity. Men and brothers, is so important. That's why Paul told Timothy, 2 Timothy 2:22, flee also youthful lust, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, peace. With them that call on the Lord out of a pure heart, follow them. Those kind of people who call upon the Lord out of a pure heart. That's the kind of people to relate with. And that's why Titus says in Titus 1:15, unto the pure all things are pure. But unto them that are defiled and unbelieving is not impure, but even their mind and conscience is defiled. They profess they know Elohim, but the works they deny him, being abominable and disobedient, and unto every good work reprobate. There are a lot of people who cannot believe a simple thing. No, there must be something. They are just looking, even preaching the word. They go to church, pastor preaches the word. Some instances they begin to pierce through. Who knows what's Pastor Amen? What's he trying to achieve? Is because their mind is not pure. You cannot relate with anybody with an imperfect heart. That's why the Lord says in 1 Peter 1:22, seeing you have purified your souls in obeying the truth through the Spirit unto unfeigned love of the brethren. See that you love one another with a pure heart fervently. When there is purification of the heart, it enables to love. The kind of love is saying in the book of 1 Peter 4:8, love that is so drastic, so radical, it covers multitude of sin. The Lord says it's possible, but it must proceed from a pure heart. So you see, true purity enables us to see Elohim and relate with him intimately. True purity will also enable us to have pure relationship with brothers and sisters, with our spouses, with our children, with brothers, with sisters. No agenda, no impurity, nothing to come to corrupt it. And this is so important. So as we move to the end of the age, this is a need. This is a strong need. And if you think you're okay, praise the Lord for you. But there are those who are pressing into the fullness of Elohim. These ones do not take chances. These ones are pressing in that 1%, that 5%, that 10%. They say, Lord, I want all of you. I want the Zoe life. Z-O-E, the life of Elohim that can be lived through people. That was the life of Yeshua. We're told in Hebrews 1:9, he loved righteousness, he hated iniquity. Brothers and sisters, the Lord can so purify us, and it's all by his grace. One of these grace does is to purify us in response to our need, in response to our desire, in response to our prayer. Grace of Elohim does it. He offers it to us by grace. He says, faithful is he who has called you, who will do it. Brothers and sisters, what's your resolution? What is the resolution of your heart? Do you want him to do it? Press him. Decide. Yearn for it. Fast. Wait on him. Tell him, Lord, I want nothing less than your nature. Because as he is, so shall we be. And everyone who has this hope purifies himself even as he's pure. If truly we believe he's coming again, then we want to be like him. The law of proportion, the law of the relationship. Amos 3:3 says, two cannot work together except they be agreed. He's a pure Elohim. His heart, his mind, his will, everything about him is pure and is able to impart that purity to us. Brothers and sisters, can we go to him in prayer right now? Lord, by your Spirit, do a work of grace in our hearts. Father, do with us that we've done with your saints of old, that enabled them to handle pressure. They didn't wilt, they were not crushed, they didn't crack under pressure. Pressure brought out the best in them. Lord, bring a work, bring your anvil, bring the sword of the Spirit, bring your grace, bring the blood into our spirit, soul, and body, our attitude, our emotion, our mind, our will. So much so that under pressure, what will comfort is your holiness. What will comfort is your love. Under pressure, what will comfort is that Zoe life. Help us to attain unto the fullness of the stature of Yeshua. Thank you, Father. Help every couple on earth to see each other as instruments of showing what needs to be fixed, not in the other, but in the person. Help every parent and children to also understand this. In every local assembly, help this understanding. Anywhere and everywhere, help us to begin to do the deep inward journey, to come to that place where we walk your narrow way, the road less traveled, that your name may be glorified, that on earth there are people who are ready to suffer and keep quiet for your name's sake. No anger inside, but just to help to lift up brethren who are missing it. Let this grace be imparted into your remnant right now. Thank you for the ministry of the blood, for the ministry of the sword of the Spirit. Thank you for the ministry of your grace to accomplish this in all who desire it. In Yeshua's mighty name we pray. Amen and amen.
This session is no longer being recorded.
Thank you so much, brothers and sisters, for this wonderful time. I believe the Lord is doing a work, and I want you to respond to his work the way he wants it to be responded to. Today, we have some bad days. We have Pastor Natasha Barnes in Oklahoma, wonderful woman of the Lord. She was the pastor of Pastor Neral, Prophetess Ose Bonnet. Have wonderful testimony, being very, very, very much hands-on. Christine Parker, our sister, and a whole lot of other people today. Our brother Credo Clay in Georgia, I think he's still in Georgia. Today is their bad days, and we're going to pray. Thank you, elect. May the Lord bless us. Tomorrow we continue.